Let's talk about Spillgate, Skip Bayless. What do you think about that move?
Carrie, I want my friend Stephen A. to talk about this because he was actually at this game.
You do?
So he'll probably have some better
insight.
insight.
He'll have some better insight
Yep.
on it? All right, Skip wants to give it to Stephen A.
Listen,
Go ahead.
listen. Well, first of all, it's a smile on my face. It's nothing to write home about and act like, Jason Kidd should suddenly be suspended and it's so egregious. But clearly, my man Jason Kidd is lying through his teeth. We all know this. We saw it. It was clear as day. He told Tyshawn Taylor to hit him. And that's exactly what happened because they had no timeouts with 8.3 seconds left, and they were desperate to call up a play and make a substitution that would get Taylor out of the game and get Teletovic in the game. So that's exactly what transpired. Jason Kidd didn't even notice that two members of the Lakers were actually in the huddle when assistant John Walsh was drawing up the play, for crying out loud. You can read his lips. You don't need to hire somebody, a lip-reading expert or anything like that. We all saw what happened. He told the guy to hit him. The guy hit him, knocked the cup out of his hand to delay the game so he'd have time to draw up a play. And the play they drew up was pretty good because KG picked a Laker. Paul Pierce was open. Pau Gasol had to come off of KG to contest the shot. He did it, but he didn't block it, and it was a little bit to the right, and Paul Pierce missed the shot. But it was a great play. It was a great draw-up. It was obviously the right play to call. That's what they were doing. And then to Jason Kidd, here's where you ultimately know he's lying. When he sits there and says, I was never too good with the ball. Excuse me. This is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, one of the greatest assist men in the history of the game. You talk about Magic, who's in a category by himself. But then the other elite point guards in the game, Jason Kidd's right there. He will be inducted into the Hall of Fame in a few years. But you were never that good with the ball. Clearly he was joking because he knew he was lying. And that's all right. That's what you do to try to get away with stuff during the game. He tried to get away with it. We caught him on camera. It is what it is.
You took the words out of my mouth. I watched a lot of Jason Kidd all the way back to his rookie years and first years in Dallas. This is one of the greatest players with the basketball I have ever watched and we have ever seen. So not only was he being sarcastic, he was sort of rubbing our noses in the fact that he was flat out lying. And again, Stephen A., I'm with you. Does he deserve to be punished for this? No. Remember what he did once when Mike Woodson was the coach in Atlanta and he went out of his way to run into Woodson to stop the clock? So I don't know. It's just Jason being sly Jason. But you know what's a bad look to me, Stephen A.? Then his assistants are drawing up the play, and it looks like Jason is an innocent bystander, like he doesn't really have any input into what the last play is. If you're a rookie head coach, don't you think it behooves you to actually roll up your sleeves and help draw up the play? I don't get that one.
Well, Skip, I will tell you this. I don't like the way that looks myself, but it's primarily because this team is losing games. They're 4-11. They've been anything but impressive.
Second, Jim Butler.
Experience in their roster. Obviously, Darren Williams and Brook Lopez, your two best players, are out. But still, you surmise they would be better. And as a result, Jason Kidd is the coach you wanted under ideal circumstances. Under these arduous circumstances, he certainly needs to do more. But what I would remind you of is that even though they were winning games, and that's why he was able to get away with it, it is no different than when Larry Bird was coaching the Indiana Pacers. He had Rick Carlisle on the offensive side of the ball and Dick Harder on the defensive side of the ball. And they were drawing up schemes and plays all the time. It wasn't Larry Bird. Larry Bird was the face of the franchise. He was the head coach. He was the one that stood before the media and answered questions about what guys did and what they were supposed to do, et cetera, et cetera. But the brain trust behind it all was Rick Carlisle and Dick Harder. And now we see Rick Carlisle leaves. He gets the coaching job in Detroit. He's a coach of the year. He ultimately goes to Indiana and heads coach himself. And then after that, and by the way, might have won the title if it wasn't for the Palace and the malice of the Palace, and then ultimately goes to Dallas, wins the title, and shows his exceptional prowess as a coach. he was coaching
Okay,
when he was an
but-
assistant with
but
Dick
Stephen
Harder
A.
under Bird.
Just to defend Larry Bird here as a coach, if memory serves, didn't Larry Bird get voted Coach of the Year? I believe it was in '98 when they went to the Eastern Conference
Yes.
Finals and took the Bulls to 7,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm not sure Jason Kidd is a candidate yet for being a Coach of the Year. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah,
give
but at
Larry
the time-
Bird more
but at the-
credit.
No, you can't. And here's why you can't. I'm talking about particularly the beginning of his coaching tenure. That wasn't his first year in Indiana, if I remember correctly. The fact of the matter
No, it
is
wasn't.
that when Larry Bird first started as a coach in Indiana, he had Rick Carlisle and Dick Harder under him, and they were doing a lot of what you're seeing assistants do for Jason Kidd. So if it was good enough to transpire for Larry Bird, it should be good enough at these beginning stages to transpire for Jason Kidd. It's just that Indiana was winning, and Jason Kidd and the Brooklyn Nets are losing right now. So they got to turn that around. That's all.